the back of your
No.
computer thing? You're good with that? Okay.
Yep.
All right, never mind.
I thought about it and I thought, no.
There's the, I think, this
Yeah.
seemed a little outdated.
I'm good with it.
Good.
Tim's not gonna be here.
That's sad.
I agree.
Well, it's about 3 o'clock. Shall we begin the meeting? Call it to order?
Sure.
Tim is not here. Ann and I are here. Any questions about the consent agenda? I thought things looked in order.
Did I?
I guess the only thing I would note is that we had talked about having a commissioner report section on the agenda. And let's go ahead and do that for next meeting, please. Is that okay with you, Ann?
Mhm.
Because I have a commissioner report item.
You can
Okay.
actually just add it to the agenda now.
Okay, let's do that, please,
To today's agenda, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
at the end.
Are these reports something you'd like to submit in writing to include with the packet for everybody to see beforehand?
I think it could go either way. I mean, often, my report today wasn't fully formed in time for that, for a written version. But a written version would be good?
Be great,
Okay,
when possible.
when possible. Sounds good. Okay, I would second the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wastewater treatment plant. Tom, your yearly explanation, well-worded explanation of the water treatment plant. Wastewater treatment plant, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we go over it, you know, every year about this time, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. 2 years ago, you know, we were trying a different process to save money with our, you know, bug augmentation. And 2 years ago, it was different than it is now and last year. Last year and now, it's just, it's natural, you know, production. I think this time of year, this year might be a little more exaggerated because we had plans to do the storm sewer. The city did the storm sewer work down there on 2nd Street that leads into the wastewater plant. And because of this, we have to lead out 3-4 months in advance how we're going to try and manage all this flow and waste production to get it in and out of the plant because we only have so much storage capacity. So thinking it'd be done this month, the construction was supposed to start this month, we had our tanks 100% emptied by the end of May. From all year long, we quit hauling like end of October and we started hauling this year. So we hauled out like a couple 100,000 gallons. We wanted our tanks empty so we had room for the byproduct of the activated sludge process enough till they get through with the construction so we get the semis back in there. Well, they're not doing it now, but that still wouldn't make the system any different right now. But so we're refilling them, you know, as we need it, as we build up, you know, solids in our oxidation ditch. We have to take some out. You know, it's an in and out all the time. And I think that with the, you know, in the empty tanks, we're adding this all raw or green septage, and we've been doing that all June. June was, and actually the whole year has been historically cool. You know, the biological activity that goes on is minimal. And so pretty soon we've got probably 50, 60,000 gallons or more of like raw sludge that is accumulated in these tanks. And now the last few days with the accelerated of the sunshine, the biological activity grows at an exponential, you know, form. So it's trying to use up, it's probably using up more oxygen right now than we can generate till it can adjust. And I think that's why you're seeing a little bit more now this week and maybe last week. Like this morning, I pulled in there, and you could tell, and it's I can tell the differential odors. Like 2 years ago, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
The last year was normally it should be more like a barnyard musty kind of smell. Today it had a little different odor, but then we get, I think part of today's was like different kind of loads that come in. You get different strengths sometimes, like from the campground, the brewery, and the septic system, and the plant took a hit in the biological activity part. And you could tell last night it was starting, like one of the rings was a little different in the turbidity change, but now it's already coming back down. So that part has worked its way through. But
Yeah, so basically it's just normal processes that are occurring that you monitor as always and make adjustments.
like right now, we're going to try, because of the way the way it's going to be, because it's probably going to happen again, or the potential when they work on the road again, because we're going to have to drain the tanks right back down again and start from square one a second time. But then hopefully it's warmer all the time, and as we add, it gets broken down more quickly before we need to add more again. So
And more evenly.
yeah.
Have we had some complaints?
Yes, and I smelled it too. I mean, I understand. I mean, if they're there, they're legitimate. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, I've certainly had people come up to me, and in fact, today I walked into the post office and just blundered into a conversation that people were having about it,
I got home from lunch and got hammered too.
Yeah.
Because she was at the grocery store. Yeah, so it's, so what we're going to try and do is do waste, what's called waste, smaller amounts at more intervals, which is increased labor. I mean, it's more hard to keep doing it that way, but I mean, that's about all we can do right now, because you have to waste. We wasted today a little bit. We'll waste tomorrow a little bit on the holiday. We'll waste Friday, because we have to keep up what's called the food to mass ratio of the plant. The food is what comes in, which we have no control over. The mass we have control over to a point, and that's our bacteria that we grow that eats the food that comes in to convert all the nutrients in the water to solid mass, which settles out and goes into the digester, so the clear water goes out.
So, could I ask a question?
Sure.
Would it be possible, well, two questions. The first one is, would it be possible to make a simplified explanation of what you just said public somewhere, so that people have information and understand that it's not failing or it's not overloaded or whatever, so that so that they have a little bit more understanding of what's going on?
I think the simplified version we worked out pretty good with the communication director and myself, and he has like a press release odor thing, and that's like the second half of this statement. I mean, other than that, I mean, that's it's simplified, but it's pretty explanatory.
Sure.
Yeah.
So are you saying Patrick then?
He we worked on this together, and he
Okay.
has it. So if someone calls him, and if he needs to post it, he can post it on wherever as far as a response.
Well, I was just wondering, I
Yep.
mean, I don't know, I'm not trying to do his job, but I was
No.
wondering if it could be posted in more public areas like the city website, Boreal, elsewhere, so that people might see it and feel reassured that, anyway.
Sure.
They might feel reassured.
Well,
It's still going to smell.
yes,
But at least we can offer some simple, frequently asked question answers like, this is not because the plant is over capacity.
right. I think
This
that,
is not because the plant is failing in some way.
right.
It's just a natural process that we don't have 100% control over.
And then my other question was,
Yeah.
is there some kind of, I don't even know what the word would be, but like I know in a factory it's called a scrubber. Like, is there something that could go on the air outflow there that could reduce this odor somehow?
Yes, they can engineer odor control systems that would probably help the digester part. Now, the cost to me would probably outweigh the benefits. I mean, you'd have to get an engineer, they'd go through it and they would design it. It would be a physical structure that would have to probably be on top of the tank and on the ground, that the air kind of pumps through, and it is like a scrubber, they got different things that can manage it, so
Well, we can
have an engineer look at
get
it.
a
if you
quote
would. Yeah.
for you to say what would it cost for you to answer that question.
Yep,
I think that would be great.
sure.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
I haven't.
and we can hand that off to Patrick to try to get the message that was
Yep.
written up
We can.
in our packet out to a reasonable extent. And I like the message that you and Patrick wrote. I thought that what you just said here today was maybe a little more detail, which I don't know if that's necessary or not.
I could get more detailed, but it doesn't, I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I think simpler is,
it was good, yes.
I don't
Okay.
think a lot of people really want to understand how everything works down there. For those that do, we'd be happy to give them more details.
Mhm.
I do think, however, that the explanation is going to end up being pretty not satisfactory to a lot of people.
Right.
And that's unfortunate, but it just is what it is.
Okay, well, let's go with that as it's written, and I think that was a good effort. And it's nice to have a sewage wastewater treatment plant and have it function well. And it is in town, and it's going to smell a little bit, especially in the summer. Yeah, thank you for
Right, thank
for
you.
doing your
Appreciate
best
it.
on that.
Yeah.
yeah, you bet. Are you here on that issue too, or?
No, yeah.
Oh, otherwise she just comes over and talks to me.
No, I'll come over.
Well, you did have the one weekend.
Huh?
Oh, yeah.
You were requesting odor-free.
Oh, yeah. I'm not gonna get that.
Well, let's go on to meter policy. And Mike, you've written up an opt-out policy for us to consider.
What do you think?
I think this is definitely in the ballpark. I'm kind of inclined to want to offer that.
So you're saying that the opt-out policy is the 1 through 5 listed there? Initial setup fee, monthly charge, that section?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Some key things to remember. We're not required to have an opt-out policy. This is something that we would offer because we think it's in our customer's interest, or we think that it's a customer service issue that we're willing to do. There's a cost associated with having opt-outs, and the policy is designed to have the folks that want to take advantage of that bear the cost rather than have the rest of the people bear the cost.
And just to back up to number one, we have had people express an interest.
We have had, I believe, 5 people express an interest. In our research, there is a predicted rate of takers on a policy like this, because there are some utilities that have gone down this path, and 5 is actually kind of right in the ballpark of what we might expect for a system our size. So the unfortunate thing about it is that there's some fixed costs associated with having an opt-out policy that have to be spread out amongst whomever opts out. So if there's only 5, that means it's a little higher than normal. But I don't think what we're proposing is particularly high, particularly compared to some other system charges. So, and we tried to include some of the reasoning behind why we would charge what we're charging. So not only to explain to you, but also to explain to anybody who might be looking at opting out and wondering where those costs are coming from. But we certainly think this is achievable in the office to do this, so.
I thought it looked reasonable.
Since Becky is here, may I invite you to make a comment or two?
Well, did you get the email today?
Yes.
Okay. Did I give you a copy of my email? I had some other ideas that I might.
You can certainly give me a copy of your email.
I'm gonna pull
I
it
haven't
up
seen
right
it
now.
yet.
And I guess, Becky, if you would
Thanks.
just kind of maybe briefly state what your concerns are and also how you feel you've been able to read this. Yeah, please come on up. You've been able to read this proposal, and do you think that would solve the problem for you?
Well, what did you think of my other ideas? I mean,
I thought they were worth considering.
yeah, so I'll let that be, and you guys can talk about those.
But first, I mean, it's basically a health concern, yes?
It's a health concern, and there's enough research out there that it makes me really question whether I want one on my house. And it would be like 4 feet from my bedroom.
That's
4
where
feet,
the-
4
that's
feet
where-
from my bed.
That's where the meter is now.
Yeah, it would be 4
Okay.
feet from my bed. And so I spend 9 to 10 hours a day in my bedroom, and I don't want, I mean, I plug my cell phone far away from me when it's charging. I don't sit by Wi-Fi routers. We are not exposed to EMFs as much as we can. So that's our take on that. So I would hope that you would allow those of us who really feel strongly about this to not have that for our house.
Okay, and you had made a couple of suggestions in your email. What were those again? I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, could the meters be turned on for transmitting data only 1 day a week or 1 hour a day? Instead of
Yeah,
being on
and-
24/7?
And my question was, Mike, do you happen to know how often they are transmitting?
No.
That's still to be decided?
No, they come pre-programmed to operate in a particular way. We have the ability to program them to operate the way we want them to. And we only go out and take reads once a month unless something comes up and we need to take a read from a particular meter. Like somebody calls in and asks a question about their usage, or there was a question about the read that they received and we want to double check or something like that. The tricky part about it is that because it's a mesh system, the meters rely on each other to communicate. And if we programmed them all to only read once per week, we wouldn't be able to go out and do communication directly with a meter because we need to go through other meters to get to it, if you know what I mean. So they have to be on call all the time for us to be able to do a spot check on a meter. So meaning we can't guarantee to any particular house that that meter will only be broadcasting once per week unless we have only a very limited few of those, because it may affect the ability for our network to communicate to other meters. So I'd just say that...
How much of a problem is that, though? I mean, you don't know what's going on with people's meters right now, except the once a month that somebody comes out and reads them. So how much of
that's a
is-
problem. That takes a lot of time and effort, and we actually deal with that fairly regularly, where we've got 1,200 electric meters, and we don't have to know about 500 of them every day, but we have to know about some of them every day, and it's a random check. So to know which section of the network needs to be able to communicate and which doesn't is really difficult to predict. And to know, like, if we said, okay, that meter right where you're located, we don't need that one to be a part of the mesh, I think that would be more difficult than just allowing you to opt out of having a communicating meter at all.
And the other one is, could our meter be on an electrical pole or not on our shed and not on our home so close to our bed?
Absolutely, and it's up to you to put your meter socket wherever you want on your property, and we'll provide electricity wherever you put your meter socket. So if you want your meter socket to be far away from your bedroom,
Yeah.
call an electrician, get it moved, and we'll come out there and put the meter wherever you want it on your property.
Okay. How about if we would just read our own meter and give you the information, and you wouldn't have to send somebody out? I'm happy to do that. Happy to input it onto your computer. Happy to do whatever in the form that you choose. I mean, those are my suggestions for.
And that's really helpful. It doesn't solve the whole problem, unfortunately. I mean, we need to still have a system of accepting that data and inputting it that's different than the system we're using for everybody else. And although you might be willing to do that, everyone may not be willing to, and so we're still going to have the ability to go out and read meters manually. So it probably wouldn't save us a lot to have people doing that.
If you're going to charge me $100 an hour for somebody to come out and read my meter, and I'm 3 blocks away, I'd rather read our own meter.
Well, that's not $100 an hour for just you.
Okay.
That's for all the groups.
I have a question. How far away, could Becky and Lauren have their meter from their home?
We've got meters that are hundreds of feet from some homes.
Just as long as
So-
the wire.
Okay.
You know, in the
Put
more
it over
urban
by you.
sections of town, the meters are generally on the homes.
Right.
They don't necessarily have to be on the home next to a bedroom. They can be on the home next to a utility closet, or next to a basement stairs, or next to a kitchen, or,
Okay.
you know, it really depends. It's pretty random.
So there's not some limit where afterwards the data would be degraded or something?
Not for us.
Okay.
And for the electricity part of it, I mean, like I said, there's meters that are hundreds of feet from where the home is. That's more in the rural section where we've got a line that's going through acreage.
Right.
Oftentimes the meters will actually be on the poles or close to the utility poles, and then the line after that is entirely the customers, and they can put it where they want. So that, and we've thought about that issue from the beginning too. If there's only 5 people that want to opt out, we could probably find other ways to mitigate the things they're concerned about, whether it be some kind of shielding or relocating of the meter sockets. But if it's only 5 and you know, we're willing to offer this, or if they want to work on some other issues on their property, we can offer them different pathways to get what they're concerned about taking care of.
Thanks for being willing to work with us. I appreciate that very much.
Sure thing.
Please don't stop that opt-out thing.
Yeah.
Thanks, Becky.
Yeah, Becky, the other thing I wanted to say is one of the potential benefits of the meters is that in the future, there could be time of day electrical rates could really come into play to help with energy efficiency and with making renewable energy easier to incorporate into the grid.
Is that going to make like off-peak heaters more available now in Grand Marais? Because I wouldn't do them for a while.
Yes, that's one of the main things we're trying to achieve with this system.
And vehicle charging might be an issue or an opportunity.
Yeah.
Electric vehicle charging, did I say that at all right?
I think that they're related issues, and the idea of electric vehicle charging being more of an opportunity is again related to there are particular times of day when it would be better for us to have a load like that on the system than others.
Like night.
And if we can have, or you know, maybe during the middle of the day too, if that's when renewables are being activated and other load parts of our curve. But the way to achieve that is through different time of day rates and for different uses maybe as well.
Right, and we couldn't offer that, or having these advanced meters makes that much easier to do.
Yes.
So there is,
I'm only concerned about my personal exposure, that's all.
yeah, of course. I just kind of wanted to explain kind of why we were interested in putting them there. Okay, well, does this seem like a good start?
It's a very good start.
Okay, and
Thank you for being open to these things.
Yeah, thank you, and Mike, thank you for putting that into writing and coming up with that opt-out. Where do you want us to go with this, Mike? Do you want us to, I mean, do we have to kind of set this in stone soon, or you said,
We have
when would you like a decision?
500 new meters that are currently being installed, like right now. They're out there right now installing them. And so now would be great.
Okay.
If this is a policy you're willing to adopt, then adopting it now would be great. And then just the last point about it, number 4, no fees until the system is 90% installed. So we don't need to start charging people special rates in this transition period when we already know we have to maintain 2 systems, and it's not their fault for opting out that we're maintaining 2 systems. It's our choice to do that.
Okay.
Anybody have any idea how much it would cost an electrician to put the plug-in, whatever it is,
Yeah, meter
all
socket.
100 feet from our house?
It really depends.
Might be a little ditching, but they don't have to put those real deep electrical wire. It's
No.
just an electrical wire that they would have to run from your existing meter, to wherever.
Is there anybody that's a specialist at that?
Any electrician locally could do that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I would make a motion to adopt this opt-out policy as currently written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah, I wish it was cheaper, Becky, but, we want to try to keep it fair. Okay.
Well, I am trying to keep it fair too.
That's good. All right, shall we move on to the seasonal disconnect issue? And this is about, again, the electrical utilities, not sewer, water.
I
or
didn't
not
read
water.
it, so I think I misspoke to you before the meeting. It's all meters.
It's both,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's electric and water?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we've had some internal discussions as staff about this for a number of years now. Really, the debate being, what is the purpose of this policy to allow seasonal disconnects? And it seems pretty clear to me that the purpose for many of the customers who take advantage of it is avoid paying the fixed fee for the months that I'm not here, which is totally understandable. Unfortunately, the fixed fees don't go away. The things that are fixed, whether you're using the system or not. That's what it's all about. And so why would we as a utility want people to be able to avoid paying our fixed costs that we're obligated to pay, even whether they're using the system or not? It doesn't ring true. Like, why would we do that?
And the system is there for them when they
They can
start
show
up
up
the next year.
unanticipated. As a matter of fact, they can show up anytime they want and call us and say, I'm here, would you please put my meter in? Which sometimes they do. And we're happy to try to accommodate that. But for the idea that they're not here in the wintertime and we're still paying for maintaining all the wires and pipes that connect them to our systems.
And as a comparison, I feel like what is currently being charged people is quite a bit cheaper than what Arrowhead does. Because I tried to do this at the cabin. And yeah, it was quite a bit different. I can't remember now what it was, unfortunately, but
Arrowhead's fixed fees are a little more than twice what we charge per
Yes.
month for electric. That makes perfect sense, of course. They have a much bigger geographic challenge than we do.
But there was also something about if you turned it off and you wanted to turn it on again within X amount of time, there was going to be an extra charge or
Yeah,
something.
they have a policy that
Yeah.
says, if you request it to be turned off, that they're going to accumulate your fixed fees for you, whether you're paying them or not. And then when you want it back on, if it's, I think, less than 2 years or something
That's
around
what- I think
there,
that's what it
then
was,
you're going to
2
owe
years.
some of those fixed fees
Mhm.
before you get reconnected.
Mhm.
So they're looking at this too. It's an issue with them, and I'm sure it's an issue other places. Then we've got this fee, to reconnect people, because a lot of times we were actually physically removing things.
Oh.
And again, why? There's no upside for us to physically remove somebody's electric meter. They don't need us to do that. They have a disconnect breaker in their house. If they don't, they should. That can guarantee that there's no electricity going onto their system. So the actual managing of removing and putting back meters is a process that doesn't serve us any purpose and really doesn't provide a benefit to a customer that they shouldn't have the ability to do on their own. And with our new meter system, we can have meters that are designed to do this and have an automatic shut-off
Gonna ask
included in
that.
them.
Okay.
So that we don't even have to go there. We can say, okay, it's shut off, and they can call us and say we're going to show up on Tuesday, and Tuesday morning we click and it's on. And it's that simple. We also now have meters, if they're gone, but we didn't pull the meter, but they said that it was shut off, and that was a lot of cases. Well, now we'll see if there's usage in January. Go ahead and use it in January, because we know if there's usage, we're not going to stop reading it. We get automatic read meters. So it just makes it a lot more convenient for customers to do whatever they want, but it also is a little more fair for those of us that are here year-round, that we're paying these fixed charges, that everybody else that's taking advantage of that is paying it as well.
I've heard enough.
Well, on the water side, though, we still need to physically pull people's meters because they'll freeze. So they still need to be,
Oh.
they'll still need to be charged the 25 or 50, it depends. A lot of people will pull their water meters, they can turn their heat off on their house, so they're saving money, but they can't have the water meter, and otherwise it could break and then start up, and then it could flood, and it needs, it's a little different with the water part of it, with the meters, that some of them are laying outside in dirt in the summertime, so it's just the nature of our community here that has that, so.
And there will be a few like that. I'm not sure we need a policy that says here's what we charge, because each situation is really different, and there are some meters that are really not easy to get to. And to say $25 and we're going to go crawl underneath your cabin is different than, $25 and I walk into your basement and unscrew two things. So we know what our staff and equipment costs, and we can charge people a fee based on the actual amount of time it takes.
So I have a question. So this last sentence, staff suggests that we change this policy to continue charging fixed fees. So you mean the monthly fixed fee that everybody gets on that service?
Yes.
You want to continue that. So then what would the point be of somebody disconnecting their meter?
I suspect most of these folks probably won't anymore.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I'm understanding this. All right.
And honestly, that was our question from the beginning. Why are people doing this? What benefit is provided by us pulling the meter other than I don't have to pay the fixed fees?
Mm-hmm.
So if there is a benefit, we can still do it. We can still disconnect people, but we're going to charge them accordingly. And in the future, we're not going to pull a meter to disconnect them. We're going to have a special meter that just does that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How about you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would make a motion to go with staff suggestion to to continue charging fixed fees on seasonal disconnections.
Maybe
Change
add the
policy.
word monthly fixed fees in there or something to be clear, because at first I thought that was confusing. I don't know, whatever. Normal fixed fees or
Yep.
ongoing or
Monthly.
something.
Got that,
Yeah.
Hayden? Great.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
What is next? The dark sky coordination issue. We had talked about that last time. SMMPA rebates up to this date have not considered dark sky considerations in awarding rebates, and it's resulted in a couple of lighting projects that have been bright and perhaps could have been better in terms of preserving dark sky. So I guess I would offer the resolution that we include dark sky protocol considerations in future simple lighting rebates. And Mike,
When
maybe
you say offer the resolution, are you making a motion?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, second.
Discussion, I have one question, Mike, in that resolution. I use the words dark sky protocol. Is there actually a dark sky something? Is there a better, do you happen to know?
No. There is, well, we
What's the-
started looking at this a couple of years ago and there was literally nothing. Now there is some certifications. I think we probably want to do a little work with SMMPA to figure out the best way to word it. But I think the spirit of what you're asking for is pretty clear, the way you
Okay.
worded it.
We'll leave it at protocol for
Yeah.
now. That would be great.
And this is a good opportunity to start this conversation with SMMPA. Unfortunately, Keith is no longer with SMMPA, although he kind of is, because he's now the utilities director in Princeton, which is a SMMPA member, which is great for them and for us. But we have a new person in Keith's role that's going to be here in July that wants to come and sit down and meet with us. And we'll have a great chance to bring this up and talk about it with them.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you'd met him yet, but he's coming up
No,
in July.
she'll be here in July, and looking forward to that. She's been reaching out and trying to coordinate. As a matter of fact, she'd love to meet you too, since you're our rep.
Well, I was just going to suggest that, can you include me on the email, and
Sure.
I would try to make that meeting.
Yeah. We'll probably have a series of meetings, but we can make sure there's a time for you to come and meet her as well.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is climate action plan next? I'm the chair, I should know.
I think so.
It's the beauty of the paper agenda.
Let's go with that, yeah. It's a long way to scroll sometimes. And my wrist is a little, anyway. City passed the climate action plan a week ago or so.
They did.
Indeed, and it occurs to me there's probably some things within there that the Public Utilities Commission should consider and act on, and my thought was maybe we should have a working session on that sometime in the near future.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, Mike, do you have any kind of insight into, a good process for that, or is a working session a reasonable way to go about that?
Sure. I think the process is really pretty easy. Read it 6 times and try and figure out which of these things do you think you need to be acting on, and then talk about it. So
That's what I was thinking too, like,
Yes.
let's all get a copy, read it, and see what things we think we can affect or should affect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but having a designated
Yeah.
meeting for that might be good, I think.
I think so.
yep.
Okay.
And you don't have to think about it as a work session where the result of that is your 10-year plan for energy. This is more of a work session to just kind of figure out where everything lies and what are the issues you think might be interesting. And you don't have to have developed a work plan. And as a matter of fact, we probably won't have a work plan be the outcome of that meeting, but rather a few areas where we might try to direct some resources towards putting a work plan together.
Okay. Well, that sounds.
The tricky part is going
Sounds
to be the council's budget is going to be starting up soon, and so is yours. And as of now, in 2020, there isn't any obvious place for resources to come from to work on this stuff. And so that is, I think, going to be what part of the discussion is. If we want to be working on some of these things, are we going to take existing staff time and allocate it towards that instead of other things we were working on? Are we going to try and add some resources in some place? And that'll be something the council will have to deal with, but that can be part of what you're thinking about when you do read through and say, okay, here's some stuff we want to do. I think there's a lot of things we're already working on that are in the plan, and that might be something you want to think about too. So we don't necessarily have to be doing new things in 2020 to be working on things that the plan identified.
I was also wondering, I heard the mayor on WTIP talking about it, and he mentioned that there's, and is it an intern in Duluth who's assigned to work on this with the city?
Yeah.
Is that strictly with the city council, or is that a person that, we would be able to talk with, or?
Well, I don't know what their role would be.
Okay,
So.
yeah, it wasn't clear to
It's
me
not
from the
clear.
interview. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And
But maybe a resource.
Yeah.
it could be a resource, although the way an intern works as a resource, in my experience, is usually after you've figured out what you want to do and put together a really solid plan of how it's going to get
Sure.
done, rather than expecting someone without any experience who's a student right now to be able to do that for you.
Sure.
We also have Shane Steele, who has been our coordinator putting this plan together, has some hours of work left this year. And our plan was, we've kind of had him not doing very much these past 6 weeks because we've been in this, let's wait and see what happens with the adoption. But now that it's adopted, we want to use the rest of his time on how do we roll this out? What are the things that we should be working on? And maybe even he would be working on some of them yet this
Okay.
year. And he'd certainly be able to work with the council or the commission or anybody else in the organization who's going to be taking up some of these issues.
Okay,
Great. Well, that's exciting.
yeah.
You want to schedule one now? You want us to send out a doodle since Tim's not here?
I was just going to ask if
Yeah.
staff could arrange that meeting and maybe shoot for like 2 weeks from now, or a week to 3 weeks.
Could we say sometime in July?
Sure.
Yeah, that would be perfect for me. I'll be around all month. And again, really excited to kind of dig into that plan and see if we can find some nice, juicy, low-hanging fruit. Does that bring us to a close?
Commissioners' reports.
Oh, thank you. The one thing I wanted to mention was that I'm on the agenda for the next city council meeting on next Wednesday to reintroduce the idea of them passing a resolution or consider the resolution of support for the Energy Innovation Act, the carbon fee and dividend policy proposal that I presented to them several weeks ago.
Okay.
So just kind of FYI, and I forwarded on the letter, the resolution that we passed endorsing that Energy Innovation Act, and the letter that we sent to them the first time. I resent that.
That's great.
Okay, that was all I had.
All right.
Do you have any commissioners' reports?
I do not have any commissioners' reports,
Oh, come on, dig deep.
other than anecdotal people coming up to me and talking to me about the wastewater plant.
Okay, I hadn't heard that yet. I guess I would also report that it's a really beautiful day in Grand Marais
Isn't
today.
it?
It's a real dinger.
Gee, you stole my closing line.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's get out there and enjoy it.
Very good. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say something really bad about some people that I know that,
What?
well, Hayden's gonna turn this off. We're gonna give him a minute.